Now, we all know that a good number of Donald Trump's nominees are very, very troubling. But this guy is he's probably at the very top of the list in terms of how dangerous he is to working people and to America. Mr. Vought is the godfather of the ultra-right. He is the chief cook and bottle washer for Project 2025, which would decimate the lives of so many Americans. Now, we all know that a good number of Donald Trump's nominees are very, very troubling. But this guy is he's probably at the very top of the list in terms of how dangerous he is to working people and to America. Mr. Vought is the godfather of the ultra-right. He is the chief cook and bottle washer for Project 2025, which would decimate the lives of so many Americans. Here's some examples. Remember this chart from last year? I liked it so much we're using it again. See, they have ripped out paper and these exclamation points. And just look at them. Tax hike for the middle class. American workers get less pay for more work. Breaks apart the Department of State and World Bank. Rejects bipartisan solutions to fix our border. Opens the floodgates to big money and foreign influence. And repeals the $35 insulin cap, abolishes the Department of Education, eliminates Head Start, paves the way for a national abortion ban, you name it. It's a parade of horribles, and this man is being put in charge. He's at the levers of power to implement these dangerous, dangerous proposals. As you know, the OMB director holds one of the most critical positions in the federal government. It affects every federal agency, every local economy, every town, city, every American family. So someone in this position has to understand what working families in America need. All the things Donald Trump said on such a high percentage of the things Donald Trump said on the campaign trail and promised would be undone by Project 2025. If American people, each American knew what was in it, they'd be aghast that the man in charge is now being put at the levers of power. Project 2025 did so many bad things that it's hard to slash Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, eliminate Head Start, cut SNAP, let drug prices go up because you won't do anything against Big Pharma. His vision isn't just reckless, it's catastrophic. Catastrophic. This man, I believe, I met with him yesterday, I asked him, tell me one thing in Project 2025 that you reject. He couldn't name a single thing in this parade of horribles. So he will do all of that, and then, of course, he's one of the masters. He's been leading the charge on impoundment of funds. This unelected man, who's from the hard right extreme, far away from even what most Republicans espouse, could decide what funds that we allocated could go forward, could be used. So as dangerous as what he said in Project 2025 is, and as dangerous as giving him the ability to have a say in what the administration does in all those things, the danger of impoundment is equally bad. He could just say, I don't like this program, I'm not spending the money on it. And then there'd be years of a court case to decide. So this man is an appalling nominee. I hope our Republicans on the other side will just see what this guy's all about and decide they can do better. I wish President Trump would look at what the guy proposed, so opposite of what many of the things Trump tried to say in his campaign. Our North Star is to ease the burden on American families, to make them pay less for things, to have more dollars in their pockets, to have better lives. Nothing could be further from that goal than picking Mr. Vought as head of OMB. And I just want to reiterate one thing. Yesterday or 2 days ago, President Trump talked about the golden age. Yeah, it's a golden age for drug manufacturers. It's a golden age for big oil companies. It's a golden age for billionaires. It is not at all a golden age for middle-class people who need help and don't get the tax help that the wealthy get. It's not a golden age for American workers who get less pay. It's not a golden age for helping the people who need food stamps. It's not a golden age for people who need insulin to be cheaper. The golden age is only for a very limited few, unfortunately. You could not have a worse nominee in a more powerful position than Mr. Vought. On this subject first. Yes.
Have you talked to any of your Republican colleagues or any of you who are even thinking about voting against Mr. Vought?
Well, we just had the hearing yesterday. It's all coming out. Project 2025, they used to say, had nothing to do with the Trump presidency. It has everything to do with the Trump presidency. And as they learn it, I hope we'll get some votes from their side. It's going to hurt their constituents as much as anybody. Yes.
On impoundment, Trump announced a funding freeze on foreign aid and on green energy. Are you saying those orders are illegal or unconstitutional? And if so, what can you do about it? Are you going to file a lawsuit? Or what do you do?
It is still the IRA, for instance, clean energy, which I wrote in large part in the IRA, is the law to impound those funds would be unconstitutional. Absolutely. Yes.
Senators McConnell, Murkowski, and Collins, have you received any indications from your GOP colleagues privately that they're considering voting against Pete Hegseth?
Okay, I want to stick to the subject, but on this subject, Pete Hegseth is so utterly unqualified. He ranks up there with Vought as one of the very worst nominees that could be put forward. The Defense Department, people's lives depend on it. Civilians and, of course, the men and women in the armed services. And Pete Hegseth has shown himself not only incapable of running a large organization, he often shows himself incapable of showing up, or showing up in a way where he could get anything done. He is so out of the mainstream and so unqualified for DOD that I am hopeful we will get our Republican colleagues to join us. There'll be a vote this afternoon. Yes.
Just on the nominees that do have Democratic support, bipartisan support, because there are some, like John Ratcliffe, do you support Chris Murphy slowing this confirmation process down, and do you think that's going to happen with other bipartisan?
Look, there are some nominees like Rubio that got broad support, but to have a detailed discussion, I have some doubts about Mr. Ratcliffe, particularly when I asked him how he'd react if Tulsi Gabbard were put in charge of him in the DNI. So I think it's for a day or two or a few hours to examine these nominees who have such power thoroughly. Absolutely, absolutely. Our idea is to let whole truth come out. If they try to rush them through, we don't want that to happen. Yes.
On federal workers, what's your reaction to them, to the Trump administration ending telework for federal workers? It affects a lot of different workers who've been working from home recently because of the COVID.
Yeah, and I'll call on Tim, who's been our federal expert. But telework works in a lot of ways. To just take a blanket brush across and say get rid of all telework is going to hurt millions and millions of Americans who depend on these people doing their jobs. There are many ways that telework is very, very effective. And when you say get rid of all telework, it just means you want to take a dagger to the heart of federal workers and the federal government.